The Portland Trailblazers are just more than 2 weeks away from the start of training camp, and we are here on the Blazer Focus podcast with part 2 of our camp preview, breaking down the forwards. However, we have to start with a little talk about some subtle sort of Blazers trade rumor involving Robert Williams III, put out by Brian Windhorst, and it's also even more intriguing because he mentioned the New York Knicks in connection with Robert Williams, and we all know that that's Craig's team, born and raised in New York. So let's start there. We'll get to the forwards in a second. Let's start with the fact that the Knicks are about to trade 3 first-round picks, Brunson, and toss in Julius Randle. We'll take him off your hands for Robert Williams. Yeah. What do you think? What do you think of this? Just even being out there, because you know the Knicks, they did well last year. They made noise. Add a little bit more defense. Maybe that helps you get over the top in a really deep Eastern Conference. So let's start there. One, we all know the Blazers are going to trade the guy at some point. Would you want him in New York? Would you want him in New York? And what's you going to give up?
So I have no idea what you give up for that guy at this point, right? Not much. Not much. I mean,
it's
the guy can't play.
It's a problem.
He can't stay on the court. So the Knicks obviously lost Hartenstein. So Mitchell Robinson was their starting center, got hurt again, and Hartenstein stepped up and was obviously awesome. And then, he went out and got a ridiculous amount of money that the Knicks couldn't match. They just couldn't do it. So they've got Sims, Achua, and Mitchell Robinson. None of them are good at offense, so they're all kind of defensive minded. The thing is, it makes sense because the Knicks definitely need another, center. That's the position they need him to be inexpensive and a high upside. We know Robert Williams has a high upside on the defensive rebounding. We just know he can't stay healthy. If he were ever play 70 games, it would be great. But if you're a Knicks fan, you say the exact same thing about Mitchell Robinson. So what the heck? Get one.
He only played 31 games last year.
Robinson.
Yeah.
Yeah, and look at the year before. And the year before, his feet keep on, betraying him.
So let's shift this then from Williams to Ayton.
Oh, the Knicks get they can't do. There's no cap there.
Come on,
that's double triple Ayton.
Julius Randle. There you go.
Well, the Knicks wouldn't want to do that, and I don't think the Blazers would want to do that. Really,
no, of
right?
course not. Of course,
he's too old. He's too old.
He's too old.
He's like almost 30. So, but it makes sense. The one thing that makes sense is that they got to trade people, and we'll talk about that with the forwards.
Right.
You got to trade people who aren't going to play, who might have value for whatever you can get. Obviously, it didn't work out the way the Blazers wanted when they got Williams. They wanted him to play. They wanted him to be really good, and they wanted to maybe think, maybe the injury is behind him, and keep him or flip him into something, when the dreams of first-round draft picks were still bubbling in the heads of all Blazer fans and the front office. Now, not so much. But, makes sense.
Yeah,
I'm fine as long as they don't give up much.
Right.
We're ready to win now.
Yeah.
Now, baby.
It would be scary to have multiple centers who can't play defense and can't stay healthy for the Knicks. But
you mean can't play offense?
Sorry, what did I say? Sorry, can't play offense.
Yeah, we got plenty. The Knicks got plenty of offense.
I meant can only play defense, but can't stay healthy. But you're right. You guys do. Have enough offense.
Tibbs doesn't care about offense.
That's a good point. But circling this back, and from the Blazers angle, you're not overly excited and you're a Knicks fan. You wouldn't want to see the Knicks give up too much. I'm thinking that right now, like they may have to just take a couple second-round picks.
Of course.
And
look what happened. We're going to talk about Deni Avdija in a second, and how and look what the Blazers had to give up a player that many people think is better than him, and first-round picks.
And 2 first-round picks.
And 2 first-round picks, you know what I'm saying? So, yeah, they got to get what they can get at this point, because what's the point of having guys on the roster that aren't in your future, and especially if they can't stay healthy? I mean, we don't even know if he's going to be healthy for camp. That hasn't been confirmed. So, to me, yes, you can't be dreaming in this world where the guy that just missed the entire season, who missed much of the season before, is that somebody's going to be like, oh, yeah, I'll give you a first-round draft pick for that.
So the only way that could happen is if he plays well, if he gets 20-something minutes a game and kills it and is healthy by the trade deadline, which is just after the All-Star break. And then there's a team out there that says, hey, we need that guy. Then that team may be willing to give up a first-round pick because you would think it'd be a late 20s pick, and he's healthy and he's got a cheap contract. Why not? Wait, why not? A late first-round pick?
Can I be clear here?
Be clear.
The Blazers traded Malcolm Brogdon and 2 first-round picks and 2 second-round picks to get Deni.
Right. So if they took Brogdon and 2 firsts to get Deni, then 1 first for a healthy Robert Williams to a contender that the pick's going to be in the 20s, I think is going to be is doable.
Yeah, I think
that's what you need. Why would you if you're a top 6 or 7 team in the league, that pick is 25, 26, 27. You don't care about that pick. You don't really want that pick. So if it takes that pick to get a big man that helps you, people are going to do it. You're scratching your head like that's never happened in the history of the NBA. It happens all the time.
It has happened.
Right.
But this the new salary cap and
he's got a cheap contract. A contender would do it. Okay. Maybe. I'm not saying it's going to happen. I'm just saying if he's healthy, he's playing well, he's a plus defender, then I think that's the best opportunity to do that would be at the trade line deadline or next summer. So I'm not saying it's a 0% chance, but it doesn't look good.
But he's not going to play.
Okay, that's a problem. That would be a problem.
Not because it's just the injury, but the Blazers roster don't have a place for him to play.
No.
He does, they drafted the number 7 guy to do.
I know, but I think they'd make sure Williams got minutes so they could try and move him. I don't think you're going to stick him on the bench and play 6-7 minutes.
Well, I don't think you're going to, because I think you're going to do everything. If he's healthy enough to play, he's either going to be traded before the regular season starts or real quick. Because it doesn't make any sense to give him minutes over Klingon. Doesn't.
Yeah, it does. I mean, you're trying to move him. It does. Whoever wins the job in training camp.
I guess, but
I'm begging. I know it's all ridiculous.
It seems a weird way to do it, but
I know it's ridiculous.
Let's get to the forwards.
There's not enough minutes to go around at the center position. You can't play any of them at the 4. I mean, I think you can carve out some minutes for him, but at the end of the day, I think they're going to have to end up taking second-round picks for him. I think it's a fantasy they're going to get anything else. All right, the 4 position.
We came back to agreement
last week. I'm just playing.
See what he does, people.
I'm playing devil's advocate. I'm trying to create some discussion. I'm trying to just get things going. Come on. All right. Okay. Last week we talked about the center position. We talked a lot about Klingon and Ayton and what was going to happen with them, and that was very convoluted. But now we get into it, maybe even a more interesting situation, because the Blazers right now, Craig, have 2 pretty good forwards. The 4 position is better than it was last year with the addition of Deni. We agree on that. He's going to start next to Grant, assuming Grant isn't traded in the next, few weeks. That's a pretty solid front court. By solid, I mean it's not abysmal. Grant doesn't rebound. Deni rebounds, plays defense. Grant can play defense. Deni's shooting has improved. He's nowhere near the scorer that Grant is, but he gives you size. He's 6'8". So it's a pretty decent forward situation. So let me just ask you, how do you feel about that duo? Even though we know Grant's probably going to be traded at some point within the next 12 months, how do you feel about that pairing as it sits right now?
It's fine.
Okay, next topic.
It's fine.
Anyway, moving on. No, go ahead.
I mean, it's fine it's decent. Right. We don't really know what Deni Avdija brings yet. I mean, he had a really good statistical year. And then the team that's kind of rebuilding traded him. You know what I mean? Like for 2 firsts and a vet that they're going to trade probably. So that makes you go, huh. But he fits. He's 23, right? He's 23. He scored quite a bit.
23.
Yeah, he can rebound better than, we know that even Fentress has given up on the fact that Grant's going to be a real solid rebounder. But yeah, I mean, we just can't ignore the fact that Grant doesn't fit. He doesn't fit. So, and you can't ignore that we're now, I don't know, year 462. since the Blazers looking for really strong forwards. So it's a piece it's missing. Look, there's a chance Avdija can get better and improve on what he did last year and be a really solid forward or above on a team in 2 to 3 years. So that's fine. Grant's not going to be here when this team's good. So they paid him a lot of money, to stay. And so he says all the right things, right? But they didn't play him. He got hurt. He got hurt, enough to not play down the stretch so they could lose some games at times. And at some point, I think he's not a guy that disrupts, but he's got to be talking to his agent going, hey, man, I don't have a lot of years left. And I've been on some really bad teams in my career. I came here to play with the guy who's playing for the Bucks. I came here to try to win a title. This team is not going to do that. So can I get out of here? Can we do that? And the Blazers are going to want to do that too. I mean, there's no reason for them to have him. They got to pay somebody, so the contract's not horrific. But the problem is when we're going to talk about all the next guys, they're all the next guys. And they're all like the same. You know what I mean? So they don't have the next guy to be the forward yet. But that's what rebuilding's about, right? They're trying to rebuild the backcourt after they imploded a very, very good one. But yeah, there's a lot of guys that could be playing when Grant is not. And if Grant gets traded, you hope it sets them up to either have another pick to get that guy in the draft, or that, I just don't, at this point, I don't know if you're able to, in a trade, pick up that, potential all-star forward with what you have.
Allow me to take this to baseball. Jerami Grant, to me right now, at this point in his career, and the fact that he doesn't rebound, is a guy, you get a guy he's gonna hit 275. He's gonna have a 340 on base. He plays a solid outfield. Not great, not Gold Glove, but he's not dropping balls. He's got a decent arm. You plug him into the lineup, you bat him 7th, 8th, and he's productive. And the fans love him
12 to 18 homers.
Yeah, I'll even give him 18 home runs. I'll even give him 80 RBIs. Like, he's good.
Oh wow,
he's good.
Okay,
but he's not. He's not carrying you. He's not the guy. And then Deni comes in, and Denny's just a little bit less, right? He's more like 260 with 12 to 15 home runs and decent glove, and you can play him multiple. He's a platoon guy. You can play him multiple. That's how I see these guys. They're good, but neither one of them moves the needle toward being anchors on a winner. They could be great complementary pieces. I think on a top 8 team in the league, Denny's coming off the bench. I think there's some top 8 teams Grant could start for, but I think, like I said, Denny's coming off the bench. And that's just sort of what they are. And they're nice additions, but to me, it's just they're placeholders until we get to where the Blazers really want to go. So I'm going to transition from that into the guys on the roster, like I have here. Then we have a bunch of dudes: Kamara, Walker, Murray, Repair, Manaya, Banton can play some small forward. None of these guys, I mean, Kamara, I think, can be a role player. Walker may be a role player, but, I don't know. So the bottom line is, and I don't even think this is really a question, the Blazers forward of the future, the Blazers impact forward who's going to help this team make the playoffs someday is not on this roster at all, anywhere. And so
unless
what? Unless
Sharp plays the 3,
and I don't think he can get away with playing the 3 really. So it's just sort of this wasteland of dudes where literally none of them I have penciled in as being in an 8 or 9 man rotation when this team makes the true playoffs. Not squeaks into the play-in down the line, but makes the playoffs. And so I'm not I'm not excited at all about anyone. There's not one guy where I'm like, man, let's see how this develops. Let's see where this goes. It's just not a thing.
No, they're either too far off in the sense that people are dreaming about repair and maybe this potential, and maybe that can happen when young guys, or you somehow think Kamara 25 is going to play offense really, really well. But there's some disappointment here. I mean, Chris Murray's still a first-round draft pick, right? So what do you do with that? And what do you do when you have guys that they're not even like, you don't even have the shooter in this group. The guy that, he could shoot. So when we need points, we bring him in. The Blazers have had that position quite a bit, right? Where that's the 3-point guy. James Jones, he could play. He wouldn't play for 8 games, and then Terry, would be like, "Oh, we need some threes here," and then bam, he'd come in, he'd score 16. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
hit 4 or 5 from 3. They don't have shooters, so these guys are not that helpful. Because that's the one thing in this league is if you can shoot threes at 44, 42% and above, you play in this league, even if you can't do anything else.
You're shooting 42. You're starting at least 37, 38.
Saying, like, I'm talking about unlimited time.
Gotcha.
But right, that's fine. 30. I'm just saying, like, if you can shoot the ball, well above 35%,
around 40, right?
Around 40. You're playing in this league, even if you can't do anything else.
Especially if you're 6'7", 6'8".
Yes, that's what I mean.
If you give any effort, you're a 3-and-D guy. Any effort on defense, you're a 3-and-D guy. Plug him in.
And there's guys that are just 3 in this league now. True. I mean, the Celtics won a title with guys doing that. So, but they don't have that. So these guys are almost like, who cares who plays?
Yeah. It's a crazy group because they all have a trait that's nice, but none of them have the shooting trait. And you can't bring guys off the bench who can't shoot.
Right.
It's just
none of them. I mean, Kamara, at least like, okay, that guy could be your defensive specialist. Like he's.
I even think that's overrated because he's not stopping
the rest of them.
Kamara can make some defensive plays. Can you hear me? Did I lose you?
Yeah, now I can.
Okay,
you froze for a second, but you're back.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Anyway, what I was saying was, Kamara can make some nice defensive plays. But we never saw him shut anyone down. We didn't see him really disrupt a really good player for any length of time. I mean, it was kind of
the games they played didn't present that. So you have to believe little bit about what they talk about, what other players and coaches talk about. I'm just saying they weren't in play. That matters in a playoff game. That matters in a game. They didn't play any games that matter.
It's overblown on a team that's bad, and you're fishing for hope. Oh, he has this defensive trait. He can do blah, blah. I watched good guys around the league were not afraid of Toumani Kamara. They lit him up like he was a rookie. He's got some traits, but again, it's not like he was some lockdown plus defender. No. So that's even overblown. Murray's supposed to be a jack of all trades guy, but he had a horrible summer league. Very disappointing. He should have lit summer league up, and he was a virtual no-show. Rupert, I mean, he's a kid. He's 20. Who knows what he'll be in?
That's what I'm saying. There's a chance.
I mean, there's a small chance, but we've seen this before. I mean, just in the last 4 or 5 years, the number of young players who have come in through this program, through this system, it's just, it's got potential, and then they're gone. And they're just moved along.
They still got you guy.
Keon Johnson, Trendon Watford. Was it Trendon? Yeah, Trendon Watford. Nasir Little. Eubanks was a little older, but he was a nice guy. But now he's gone. Like they're just Greg Brown, right? They're just cycling through, and that's what I see this group. So for me, this group is perfect though for tanking because you can give guys minutes and lose. You can give guys minutes, and they are going to analytically help you lose ball.
Yeah.
That's kind of mean.
No, I mean that's what they're there for, and that's why Grant's got to go.
Because he's the one who might accidentally win a game.
Well, he can't afford to stink. You know what I mean? Because we're got to get moved.
Yeah,
and he can't look like he's done. And also, he's a professional athlete. When he tries hard, he's good. These other guys try hard; they're not that good. I mean, they try hard. The effort's there. I mean, Jabari Walker, I love his intensity. He's undersized. He plays hard, and on a good team, he might have 12-minute games that help you win. But on this team, you know, he's out there every once in a while shooting a three, and you're like, oh no. But he's like, why not? You know, like, so yeah, I that's why you've got to move Grant. If your goal is to lose, to get a top, 5 pick, you got to move guys that are going to be good, mediocre to good.
Or just sit him down. Or just sit him down. He sat down 28 games last year.
You can only sit people, so many people. Like, you got to play.
Have you not watched this team the last few years? Their injury list the last 2 months of the season is like this.
Agree. I know. But like at some point in time, like at some point in time, Grant's going to be like, enough, man. What is the point here?
Chilling.
I gotta go. Yeah, but he makes some money whether he plays for the Blazers or a winner.
True. What can they get for him?
That to me, what you talked about with Williams, there's a better chance there.
Just one first?
Yeah, maybe. Like if you're lucky for a team that's got multiple firsts or who's potentially, the problem is the forward position in the NBA. Like it's super important now. Big forwards who can score. Like that's. You look at the best teams, they got guys there. So Grant, I don't see Grant being a starter so much. You know what I mean? On a contender. So it's got to be a contender that maybe gets an injury and needs a guy that can fit, because he could fit on any roster. On any roster. He's and he will fill the holes, right? He'll score a little bit here if you need him to. He'll play defense. He's not a guy that, with the Blazers, he's had the ball more than almost any other time, but he understands, I think, this time in his career that he's not going to be a guy on a top team where they're going to ask him to score 25 points a game. But every once in a while, he'll get 20 for you if you need him. So, yeah, I think a little bit of luck can get you a low first-round pick. I mean, he's not 35.
Yeah. Well, and plus his contract is high. So you look at Deni, got 2 firsts in Brogdon, but you're not really going to get that for Grant because Grant is older and makes twice as much, right? So a team taking him on is going to penalize you for taking on 4 years at $30 million a year, or even if it's just the last 3 years at $30 million a year, they're going to penalize you that because he's going to be 31 years old and they're taking on all that money. So yeah, I kind of agree with you. That's going to be something like a first and maybe a swap or something, or a couple players thrown in the match salaries or whatever, but it's not going to be as sexy as they or fans may like.
Let's just say this. Let's just get this out there. They should not have signed him.
I don't agree with that.
They should not have signed him. It did not. It doesn't make. I mean, you needed to. You needed to stay above the minimum.
Right. You have to meet a salary floor.
Right. I mean, but that's not a good reason to sign a dude.
But it was high, and he's an asset, so you keep him, and then you hope you can get something for him. It's
hoping. What I'm saying is, what you're saying is, you're hoping that there's some perfect situation there where he pulls you a low first-round pick.
But whatever you get for him is more than you get for him if you let him go, and then you just fill in the roster with, 2 guys making 15.
I get it, but it's also easier to 2 guys making 15 that were decent would be easier to move to get 1. If you're going to try to, move. I'm just saying the reason they did it was Damian Lillard. And they thought originally. And then when they re-signed him, they were in this in-between spot where they had to make this decision while the Lillard thing was coming to to the point of no return. And they put themselves in a situation where they had to sign a guy because they were worried about the minimum. All I'm saying is that's not a great place to be. That's not where you want to be. It's not great because here we are.
There's nothing great about anything that's happened. But to me, I don't, let's put it this way. I'm not saying you're wrong. I don't mind them keeping Grant and then planning on flipping him into some type of assets that help you move
Maybe I
forward,
should have rephrased that.
As opposed to letting him walk.
The circumstances that came, that led to him being signed were not perfect. None of the decisions were great.
Very true.
Like not signing him and figuring out how to make the minimum, not great. Signing him on a team where he does not fit your timeline in any way, shape, or form, and you need to move him. It puts you in a position like after the Lillard complete breakdown, you had Brogdon. We're talking about Brogdon, Williams, and Grant as your potential trade pieces to get you something. And now we're not so sure they're going to get you something.
Right.
That's going to really move the needle. Now, and I just want to say, I've got high hopes for Deni. I'm going to be the biggest Deni fan.
What's your high hope?
So my high hopes are that you got a guy who's 23 years old, who's coming off a good year on a bad team where he had obviously a lot of volume. So stats, as we always say, my favorite thing to say, you're going to score 100. Somebody got to get 20, right? So, and he was that guy a lot, but he got better. He made a jump, and there, so I'm saying, like, to me, that trade, it's disappointing that Brogdon you weren't able to get rid of him in a situation where you got the first round draft pick for exactly what you hoped. You just described situations for Grant and Williams, and it didn't happen. But there are those situations. 23 is not too old to suddenly, find a new gear. 25, after you've been in the league for 5 years, that to me is harder. So I'm just saying I have some hope that you'll be like, oh, okay. I didn't know that because I don't watch a lot of Wizards games because they stink. And nobody, and I don't live in Washington. So I'm just saying I'm not going to dismiss him as a nothing, or nothing yet. I'm going to hope that he's something. I don't think he's going to be an all-star, but he might be a guy that could be a starter, the fourth best starter on your team. A good team.
Okay.
A good team.
I'll give you the potential there. Again, I'll always come back to Lowry. Lowry Markkanen is a great example of someone blossoming after 25, right? 2 teams wrote him off. Boom, he blossoms into an all-star. And sometimes you watch him, you're like, how did they give up on him? Well, because he wasn't nearly that good when he was in Chicago or Cleveland. So there's always that possibility. I just think, he ends up maybe being your 5th best player. I think you're in great shape. If he's your 4th, a little scary for me. I haven't seen the proof of that yet. Like his 3-point shooting went to 37%, but that's on 3 attempts per game. And a lot of that's from the corner. I think he shot ridiculously from one particular corner, like 40 some odd percent. And it was only like 33, 34% from a top the arc and around there. So, that's a little problematic. But, if down the line, you got Scoot, Shaden, Deni, Cooper Flag, Klingon, you know what I'm saying? And then Klingon develops. You were supposed to laugh when I said Cooper Flag. I said that for you.
Well,
and
I
Cooper
just
Flag
you just slip it in.
Why? Here, side note. I'm driving down the street and it hit me like a ton of bricks. My comp for Cooper Flag. And this is based on just, I did watch half of a high school or AAU game online. I did watch some of the clips from the USA stuff. But, and I'm going to watch him at Duke this year because we may be covering him next year. My comp, this is the perfect comp for him. Grant Hill. There you go. Grant Hill.
Let me just say something. Some people, I think younger people, I hate pulling we're old, but people in their like 20s that know about Grant Hill, they don't know how good Grant Hill. He was great when he played. Injuries just slowed him. He was going to be one of the all-time greats.
Grant Hill and Penny, two of the players from the 90s that had their careers wrecked by injuries. But the thing
Grant,
I like,
he was so good, did everything, and
exactly
so smooth. So if he could be
so
Grant Hill,
smooth.
like holy crap,
he was a 21, 7-7 guy who could have at any moment could have been 25, but he just wasn't. He just didn't necessarily call for that the way they were playing. But he did have 1 year average 26. Always shot well. Not much of a 3-point shooter, but back then that wasn't necessarily a thing. Different world. But career 31.4. Had he grown up in the 3-point era where you did that, yeah, he gets up in the high 30s. I think everyone from back then would have if they grew up shooting threes all the time. But yeah, that's just sort of where I remember him. So if Scoot becomes the next D Rose, and Sharp is Devin Booker, and you get Grant Hill, and Deni is your
how many
fifth player next to Klingon. What's the comp for Klingon? A poor man's Porzingis. What is he? Anyway, then boom, you're rolling. D Rose, Booker, and Grant Hill win titles.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just saying, not multiple titles. I mean, like that's crazy.
That's the fantasy. That's the fantasy, right? That's what you're hoping for.
Oh,
that's what dreams are made of. All right,
I could play center on that team and they could win a title.
Okay, I don't know about that. You can maybe play back a point guard.
Healthy Derrick Rose.
You can play back a point guard.
Right, Derrick Rose.
Center, I'm going to side all day, and my center is going to average 80. Go ahead.
Healthy Derrick Rose is an MVP and a Hall of Fame. Devin Booker's been healthy mostly. He's an all-star, borderline superstar.
Yeah.
And Grant Hill healthy is one of the greatest of all time. So that's like the Bulls you grew up watching right there. You know, like
there you go. That's the fantasy.
Yeah, then Klingon just has to be Dennis Rodman, taller, but just rebound and play crazy defense, and you get 6 titles. Super easy. I can't wait to see Scoot play baseball for a year.
All right, I got one fan question from Emily T. She asks, with the current state of the franchise going into an upcoming season that's not anticipated to be very interesting, do fans have anything to look forward to beyond the 2025 lottery, specifically in terms of player movement, development, and acquisitions? What are you most looking forward to seeing happen?
Scoot get better. I want to see Sharp.
So development of those two guards. That's all it is, right? Isn't that it? Like that's it.
That's it.
That's it. And then what you get for Anfernee and Grant. That's all. Those are the most intriguing things.
And to me, like yes, that's something. But if those other two things aren't, if there's not a lot of progression from the two guards, it doesn't matter what you get because you're not. We know they're not going to get all-stars to these positions, right? And if they get assets, you got to wait. If they're draft picks, you got to wait. No, it's all about Scoot and Sharp. It's all about Sharp. Like, there's no more excuses for Sharp. That's it. If you can't do it in year 3, we start giving up on you. You know what I mean?
All right, we'll talk more about
if you can't be a consistent starter in the NBA and show that you can play.
21.
I'm saying that's it. You get 3 years usually.
Oh, come on.
As a rookie when you're playing. Now he didn't play last year because he was hurt.
Okay,
I'm not saying he's got to be the all-star, but we got to see more than
see more flashes.
We got a month. We got a month last year. I'm not saying he's got to be Devin Booker, but we have to say, oh, okay, yeah, he just needs. He done it all. He does it consistently. 3 out of 5 games, he's the best player on the court at times and with high potential. And Scoot has to prove that he can play in the NBA. No, but I mean, be a starting point guard in the NBA. That's hot. Last year.
Okay, we're gonna talk a lot about this next week.
All right, you got me crazy. We're done.
I know.
That's right.
We're doing guards next week. Let's not give away too many of our hot takes on the guards. But I'm in agreement with you. All right, you got anything else that you want to add about these forwards?
No, man. That's it. You got me all fired up. I'm ready to go.
All right, that is it for the Blazer Focus podcast. We'll be back next week to talk about the guards and about OG coming to Portland for Robert Williams. Catch you later.